It's like they're falling from the sky. Tonight, a mystery in an East Bay neighborhood. Dozens of birds found dead, and it's not clear why or what or...
Scientists at Stanford have detected a new COVID variant that experts say is already evident in wastewater samples in California. And this comes as vaccine act.
You are not free. And this reality has far more to it than you have been allowed to believe.
We have an interesting story tonight from our investigative team that'll pique the interest of gamers. A growing number of Nintendo Switch owners say they bought video games but opened up their packages to a surprise. The game cartridge was missing. Investigative reporter Chad Daly shows us what was inside instead.
Our viewer says he opened up this Nintendo Switch game and found a smaller version of this, a googly eye.
I honestly didn't even know what to do. It was a googly eye. It's pretty uncommon.
Michael Delpome bought this Mario Party game from an East Windsor Walmart in February. 2 weeks later, he opened it and found this googly eye peering at him.
I can't say I didn't laugh when I saw it, and 1 out of shock, but 2 out of like, what?
A quick internet search revealed the googly eye was popping up in newly bought Nintendo Switch games across the country.
Had to do with what I was dubbing like the googly eye band.
John Downey, who runs Spawnwave Media, has a daily YouTube show that covers anything and everything related to current events in gaming. He says the googly eye conundrum has been popping up over the past 6-7 months.
It's actually a number of games. So I've seen Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and Animal Crossing.
Sometimes kids are buying these games with their chores, the money from their chores, and it's pretty heartbreaking.
But how and who is swapping out games with the googly eyes? Nintendo wouldn't respond to repeated requests for comment. Downey says it could be happening anywhere along the chain, from manufacturing to packaging to shelving.
For Nintendo, it's probably like a small thing that they maybe feel like might pass, or that they can try to figure out quietly. It's not great marketing for them.
Downey says Nintendo Switch games hold their value, used or not, and there's a robust secondary market. Delpome says he reached out to Nintendo. After some legwork verifying his purchase, the company made him whole.
They said, okay, like, we believe you and we'll send you a new game, and when the replacement came about 3 days later?
And Downey says a good idea, after buying a game, open up the package in the store to verify you're getting what you paid for.
One Heitzman says he saw a UFO and has part of the spaceship to prove it.
KCAL News anchor Chris Holmstrom is here. And Chris, you spoke with him about this.
Yeah, it sounds like a wild story, but what's crazy about it is the federal government's actually investigating this case, which makes you wonder what's really going on. All right, so this man, Jose Padilla, he was 9 years old back in 1945. When he says he and his friend witnessed something, they never forgets.
It's a new report by the Federal Aviation Administration that admits in 2023 an orange and white UFO crashed into an Air Force fighter jet during a routine training mission. The UFO caused so much damage to the $60 million jet that it was forced to land. And that is not the only new evidence that they released. Trump's top science advisors recently admitted that the government may have anti-gravity technology. Look at this.
Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. We are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Manipulate time and space. Oh my gosh, I'm surprised that hasn't been a bigger story. So why has the Trump administration decided to disclose all of this now?
Technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. Manipulate time and space? Oh my gosh, I'm surprised that hasn't been a bigger story.
He used to carry a suitcase with him, wear a fancy-looking hat.
87-year-old Jose Padilla of Roland Heights is recalling a brush with infamy he had as a boy.
I used to see Robert Oppenheimer.
That Robert Oppenheimer, and mastermind of the atomic bomb. Padilla grew up in San Antonio, New Mexico, some 13 miles from where the bomb was first tested in 1945. Jose recalls seeing the dapper physicist frequently near the Owl Bar, a local gathering spot still operating today.
He had an office right behind the Owl Bar.
That office, now a shack Jose has visited frequently in recent years to try to make sense of a series of events in the summer of '45, starting with the A-bomb detonation at New Mexico's Trinity site near the White Sands Missile Range.
I was drinking my chocolate milk on vacation when like a lightning showed up.
The glow of a mushroom cloud could be spotted up to 150 miles away.
He knocked me to the ground.
A month later, Jose and a playmate were riding on his father's ranch and heard another boom.
I told my friend, it must be another test from the bomb. He says, no, it's not a bomb. Look at the smoke coming out of the ground.
It appeared to be coming from an avocado-shaped aircraft. This is an artist's rendering.
All of a sudden, 3 little, I would say, kids got up of it. They were kind of sashaying and running around in circles.
He says they resembled extraterrestrials he's since seen in the movies.
They walk like us, but they look like a fire ant.
They walk like us, but they look like a fire ant.
30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests. They didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. More than likely it was blood. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was transferred here.
To Emory University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN. Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. And then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain dead.
So I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator. She's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son. My brain is see her.
Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family. Because I'm in my 50s, her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know? And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice. We should have had a choice.
Is 666 Fifth Avenue, just blocks away from MSNBC's headquarters in New York. An aging 41-floor skyscraper that Trump's son-in-law and top advisor, Jared Kushner, bought in 2007 for $1.8 billion. Now, experts said he overpaid, and that was before the Great Recession dropped the property's value by a lot.
Jared Kushner, his big pet project was that 666 Fifth Avenue, that big office tower. He's going to tear it down, build something new.
It's notably, it's a nice skyscraper and a name that, or an address that is memorable, we should say. They had big plans for it. At one point, they were talking about demolishing it and doubling it in size. And as you say, this was Jared Kushner's really ambitious project. It did not go the way that they thought it would.
Presidential family member and White House aide Jared Kushner broke his silence today in his first extended TV interview since Trump was elected. A 43-minute discussion that was often boastful, sometimes defensive, and at several points, honestly, bizarre. Now, for context, before I break this down, here are some of the questions Kushner was presented with.
How did you get this job? I mean, it's like you have like the dopest job in the world, like the secretary of everything. Did the bug you when they call it secretary of everything? Are you having fun? Because all we hear about is the chaos and the destruction. And
as President Donald Trump prepares for his first major foreign trip next week to the Middle East, his administration is privately turning to a familiar face for help navigating the region. Jared Kushner. Now, the president's son-in-law was the chief Middle East negotiator during the president's first term. And now we're learning that he's informally advising some of the president's top administration officials, people like Steve Witkoff, on help with navigating how to talk to these Arab leaders. Now,
scientists at Stanford have detected a new COVID variant that experts say is already evident in wastewater samples in California. And this comes as vaccine access could be changing. I'm Tate.
And I'm Dan Ashley. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. ABC 7 News reporter Leslie Brinkley looks into what we can expect going into the summer and then the fall.
COVID-19 is still evolving. Scientists are keeping close tabs on NB.1.8.1, a substrain detected in China last month, and now it's circulating in the Bay Area.
It has been reported in Europe, and it's been reported here in the U.S. We've seen it here in our wastewater. We've seen it here in California in wastewater. So it's around.
Experts at the University of California at Berkeley say the good news is this strain does not appear to be more virulent, but it does look to be more contagious.
It appears to be able to attach to the receptor sites on our cells more avidly, with greater ability, which may mean that it's more transmissible, which would not be good news.
COVID numbers have been low in 2025 so far, but that could change in the coming months.
Come the fall and next winter, respiratory season, if you will, we will see a resurgence, more people getting infected with the circulating variant, more people hospitalized, and more people dying.
That could be factored into decisions about an upcoming COVID booster, even as vaccine access is being restricted, with the Health and Human Services Secretary now removing the vaccine from the CDC's immunization schedule for pregnant women and healthy children.
We know that if you're vaccinated during pregnancy, those antibodies that mom develops pass through to the baby and protect the infants and the very young children up to about 6 months of age from COVID. So all of this protection is being lost by this decision.
World Health Organization adopted its first international pandemic agreement during the 78th World Health Assembly in Geneva on Tuesday to bolster global cooperation in preventing and responding to future pandemics.
And the World Health Organization approving a groundbreaking treaty on pandemic preparedness. 124 countries backed the agreement, requiring pharma companies reserve 20% of production for pandemic treatments. The treaty won't take effect until countries finalize pathogen sharing protocols. It aims to prevent the supply inequities witnessed during COVID.
Lockdown is written throughout the treaty, not the exact words, but what we do see is that we see that the definition of a pandemic, and this is reflected also in the parallel international health regulations which go hand in hand with this, the definition of a pandemic now includes that a pandemic necessarily includes by definition a whole of society and whole of government approach to responding to the virus. Now that, of course, whole of society, whole of government, that is exactly what we saw in the pandemic. That's no accident, and that is code for lockdowns and everything that we saw during COVID, and that's now written into the definition of a pandemic. A pandemic which the Director General of the World Health Organization has the sole discretion to call, and more than that, to call not just when there's a disease that's actually causing illness and hospitalizations and death, but just when he thinks that there is a risk, just a risk of one in his sole discretion and opinion. So we now have really, and that's all written into this treaty, into the international health regulations that go with it. So we've really seen a ramping up of the powers of the World Health Organization.
Well, I was listening to a select number of shrewd scientists, and they were predicting it. They were telling me, yes, there is a pandemic coming. It'll be caused by a virus. A virus coming out of a wild animal. What kind of a wild animal? Well, possibly a primate or a bat. What kind of a virus? Well, one that adapts quickly, such as an influenza or a coronavirus. Where would this happen? Well, somewhere where humans come in contact with wild animals. Oh, for instance, a wet market, for instance, in China. So that's what I was hearing 10 years ago, and that's what I described in my book. The scientists certainly knew this was coming. The public health people knew this was coming. They were alerting the political leaders. Political leaders, I think, in some countries, such as yours and such as mine, and maybe a few others, just did not want to spend the money or the political capital to be prepared. It would cost X billions of dollars to be prepared, and you don't want to spend that. If you're a cynical politician, you don't want to spend that and then not have the pandemic happen during your term of office. And I think that essentially that is why they failed us so miserably in this situation.
No, tu sal ek mas besluit maar dis ek weet, ek sal nie hoop nie want ek het die top afhaal.
Kelly, you've come and made our lives hell on earth. You came to break us and tore us apart. Do you know what it feels like to lie awake every night? How it feels like my heart is ripped out of my body because I pray for Jocelyn. I pray for her safety. I pray that God will keep her safe where she is. My pillow is riddled with tears over your ashes. Do you know how it feels every morning when I have to wake up my grandchildren for school? It weighs heavily on my heart because it feels like I have to be at their school all day to look after them because maybe made you to be adopted.
A mother who sold her 6-year-old daughter for around £800 has been given a life sentence for trafficking. Jocelyn Smith mysteriously went missing in February 2024 from outside her home near Cape Town in South Africa. She is yet to be found despite a high-profile police search. During the trial, a witness said that Kelly Smith sold her daughter to a traditional healer who wanted the young girl for her eyes and skin. 2 accomplices were also sentenced to life in prison.
A South African mother and 2 accomplices were sentenced to life imprisonment on Thursday for trafficking her then 6-year-old daughter.
How Kushner grades himself on the assignment of achieving peace in the Middle East.
The president asked me to do the Middle East peace process, which is something that I think we've made a lot of progress on. I'm as optimistic as you can be about that. I was given the Middle East peace process between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and I've dealt with a lot of the other regional partners in that effort.
In light of the attack, the Abraham Accords are more important than ever. Clearly, this is one of the hardest problem sets that's existed probably in geopolitics, but the end state has to look something like this, and it has to have 2 elements. Number one, Israel has to have the security to not be threatened by its neighbors and to be able to protect its citizens. That is absolutely crucial, is non-negotiable, and I do think a lot of the world agrees that that's something that should exist. The second element is that the Palestinian people have to have the opportunity to live a better life. And I think that if you go through the element, it's not just saying let's create a state, it has to be a state that can function and thrive, because if you don't create that, then the people will, again, find ways to blame other people instead of the leadership that's putting it there.
Mr. Jared, welcome to the UAE. How does this peace accord support peace and throughout the region? And my second question is, how did it feel to you personally?
Engineer who worked at Google says humans will achieve immortality in 8 years.
Right now is the very first time in human history where you can say with a straight face, you may not die.
You believe that?
Oh, there's no question.
It's hard to believe tech millionaire Brian Johnson is 46 years old, but no matter his chronological age, he's striving for the biological age of an 18-year-old.
Futurist Ray Kurzweil says in the next 8 years, we could all be forever young, just like our favorite celebrities. It's all thanks to nanobots, microscopic robots that work to repair cells and damaged tissue, even could fight cancer potentially.
It's part of his quest to live forever, which he believes may happen in our lifetime.
And what I've shown is for the very first time, we could potentially think about ourselves improving at the speed of technology.
On this day at his home in Los Angeles, he lets us into his pricey routine and his excitement for the future of the human race.
I'm the first human to opt into an algorithm that takes better care of me than I can myself.
Harvard scientist David Sinclair has spent the last 20 years working to defy aging.
How many times have you heard, if you're over the age of 40, well, you're getting sick, you're getting this pain, your eyesight's degrading. Don't worry, that's just normal aging. I really don't agree with that approach.
Sinclair believes the root cause of aging and health decline stems from damage to the so-called epigenome, the part of our cells that turn genes on or off.
Our bodies have two different types of information. We all know about the DNA. Now, there's another type of information that most people don't know about. It's called the epigenome, and it's the reader of the DNA. Like, if you have a compact disc, it's like scratches on the compact disc, so you can't read the music. As we get older, we lose the ability to read our DNA correctly.
And so how do we get those scratches off?
We had this breakthrough a couple of years ago, and so we found that there was a way to get the scratches off and reverse the age of cells.
In his study, Sinclair restored optic nerve cells and sight in mice with vision loss from both aging and a condition that simulated glaucoma.
The way we did that in the mice, and we cured blindness with them, was to turn on 3 genes that are normally on in embryos. And when we turn those 3 genes back on in the adult tissue, the mice regenerate and they get their vision back.
And now, in what the researchers are calling the first study of its kind, Sinclair and his team were able to age the mice and then make them younger again. In this video shared by Harvard, these mice are the same age, yet one is visibly older. How did they do it? By literally breaking up the DNA, forcing the body to repair itself, which he says accelerates aging.
How did they do it? By literally breaking up the DNA, forcing the body to repair itself, which he says accelerates aging.
Yep, we are all being surveilled right now, and if you see them in your backyard or near your home, it's a dire warning that even running at that point might be too late. People were terrified after a Utah mother went viral for her husband and son seeing something that turned them pale white, as it was something not from Earth, had sharp red-stained teeth, and about 3 feet tall, climbing all over the backyard walls, and it was waiting for them to go to bed. Haunting footage shows the mother putting pennies and sports balls all over the yard to try to lure it in, and after just a few minutes, she seemingly saw the pennies stack themselves and the balls disappear.
So we came back from dinner, the ball's gone.
And this is what happened with Penny.
With even the neighbors leaving an eerie warning that violent duendes or paranormal gnomes have been spotted there, and they specifically watch us to take children. And since the mother had given them gifts, it's believed the duendes will take this as a welcoming to Earth, and they might not only be here to stay, but their first victim might be this family. The mother's TikTok has since then been completely deleted, and no one has heard from her since.
I sense there's something that is very significant about the western part of the United States. The desert, the Grand Canyon, the rock formations, you think even like Devil's Tower, I think it's in is that Wyoming?
Wyoming, yes.
Different rock formations. Like there's different parts like Arizona, it looks like it's been like a nuclear blast, like more than a nuclear blast. Like what did that, how did the rocks start to look like mushrooms?
And when you get up towards like northern Arizona, like on the way to Utah, there's a bunch of like the structures like you're talking about, like there's barren land, and then it almost looks like ancient towers, like towers or cities that were like,
yeah, like if you look in, crazy thing about like the Grand Canyon is they have like the Temple of Isis, the Tower of Osiris. They have another temple to Shiva, I think, in there, and it's like they just said some guy just named it that for reasons. Of course. But it kind of does look like there's an entrance to the temple to Isis. Like, what is that place? And then you find out it's off limits. Okay, so now you start to get suspicious. Like, all right, okay, well it's dangerous. It's like, well, people go missing in national parks every day, all day, throughout the country.
Right.
So they're real worried they'll go missing in the Grand Canyon for some reason.
Well, did you know that North America has more cave entrances into whatever you want to call that, whether you want to call it Hollow Earth, Middle Earth, whatever. North America has more entrances than any other continent.
We are in control because basically we are not a political organization, we are an occult organization. We're working behind the scenes to manipulate the way that people think. The war that we are waging is a guerrilla war on the human mind. And we use musical frequencies, the dominant frequency, which I've referred to before, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. And what we're waging is a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. And we're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man. Politics is merely the puppet show of human beings, and we transcend that, but we are interested in the control of human beings for our own purpose. We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people.
Like firecracker go off and this bird just fall from the wire.
Right now at 11 o'clock, it's like they're falling from the sky. Tonight, a mystery in an East Bay neighborhood. Dozens of birds found dead, and it's not clear why or what or who's to blame.
Now, neighbors say that it could be connected to the power lines, but PG&E insists the bird showed no signs of being electrocuted. So the question is, what's going on?
The bird showed no signs of being electrocuted. So the question is, what's going on?
It's a mystery. I think that's how we all feel, is it's inexplicable.
If what's happening along Bernhardt Avenue in Richmond is a mystery, then these are the neighborhood detectives.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Residents say what has been happening high along this power line since February just isn't adding up.
Sounded like a firecracker, and a black, I think it was a starling, just plummeted to the ground.
They say there have been more than 50 instances of birds dying along this top power line. Video from a nearby Ring camera shows the moment it happens. Listen for the loud crack. A bird then falls to the ground.
Super traumatic to see this.
A horrifying mystery in one Northern California city where residents say birds are being killed at an alarming rate. More than 50 birds have recently plummeted to the ground after perching on a specific stretch of power line in Richmond, which is northeast of San Francisco. The utility says the California Department of Fish and Wildlife evaluated the birds and found no evidence of electrocution. The Department of Fish and Wildlife believes the deaths were caused by a BB gun or a slingshot. Neighbors aren't convinced.
I feel like a BB gun doesn't make a firecracker noise. I can't fathom somebody could be that accurate all the time.
Now, regardless of what's causing the deaths, residents say they just want someone to take action.
We spoke to several neighbors who are trying to make it stop.
It's very traumatic. It's super traumatic to see this.
Littered along this stretch of Bernhardt Avenue in Richmond are daily reminders of a bizarre and tragic problem plaguing the neighborhood.
It was just horrifying. Again, I didn't even know what was happening at first.
Now at 6, caught on camera, a man seen throwing and kicking his toddler daughter. Now he's in jail.
The man says he's visiting from Russia, but after his arrest, it could be a while before he returns home.
NBC6 reporter Steve Litz is outside Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital where that child was taken for a checkup. He joins us now with that video. And Steve, it's just absolutely disturbing.
And a heads up to all our viewers out there that yes, this is disturbing video to watch. You're going to see the baby was shaken by the father. That, according to investigators, you can see that clearly on the video as well. And so it is for that reason the baby was shaken that medics thought it was a good idea to bring her here to Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital to get checked out.
I've seen people treat dogs this way.
A father is seen on video throwing his daughter to the ground, wrapping her in a towel, picking her up, and then violently shaking her. There's more video, and it's just as disturbing.
The child had to go to the hospital.
Andrei Sevastianov appeared in bond court today, and he was told to stay away from his daughter. In this sequence, police say he brought her in from the pool, dropped and then kicked her, yanked her up by the hair, then grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the elevator, and that's when video shows he threw her to the ground and then picked her up and shook her. The incident happened here at the La Perla condominium building on 166th Street and Collins Avenue. Police say a front desk worker here got a tip that there was video of a father beating his baby, and so police saw that video and then went right to that suspect's unit.
You can see my hair.
Yeah, me too. I showed the video to Linda and Shimon Amir. They live in the building.
This is like paradise. To hear something like that is very shocking. Yeah.
When police went to arrest Sevastianov, they say he resisted and they had to take him to the ground. He faces several counts of child abuse. The judge ordered he be held on no bond.
I'm a strong proponent of therapy. I mean, there's nothing embarrassing about talking to somebody. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, reach out.
The suspect did say that he is visiting from Russia, and he raised a concern with the judge that he and his family have airline tickets set to go back sometime next month, but due to the serious nature of these felony criminal charges, it is likely he's not leaving the country anytime soon. The State Department of Children and Families is involved, and police tell us that the baby is with his mom now.
A mysterious monolith that recently appeared in the mountains outside Las Vegas has now been removed. Police say it was taken down yesterday because of public safety and environmental concerns. No one seems to know who put up the mirrored column, which stood about 6'4", or why they did it. Dozens of mysterious monoliths have popped up around the world in recent years.
Police tweeted, quote, "We see a lot of weird things when people go hiking, like not being prepared for the weather, but apparently even police officers were surprised by this metal structure. If this story feels familiar, here's why. In 2020, during the pandemic, another mysterious monolith was discovered in Utah, and it looked pretty similar to this new one in Nevada. So is this the work of an artist, aliens, a random YouTube prankster?"
I'm going aliens.
I had a feeling you'd take the wild card, Joe.
Aliens too. Well, what was the explanation for the last one? Do you remember? I don't remember.
Guys, it's giving art installation, I think, right?
Yeah.
But I also disagree. I'm sure they've seen Stranger Things on hiking trails out there in Vegas. Come on.
It has to stay there, though, right?
That's
How about
true.
artists who are aliens? Let's go with that.
Middle ground.
Okay.
I like that. We can agree.
The mysterious monolith that has seemed to have reappeared over the weekend has led numerous people out here to try and catch a glimpse of this mystery.
We saw the post, and I really wanted to come out and see it because we missed the one in Utah because they had it taken down so quickly, so I wasn't going to risk not getting to see it this time.
A shiny mystery has reappeared far from where it was first spotted on Fremont Street in December of 2020.
The British government has charged Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan with rape and human trafficking, among other charges. The BBC reports the Crown Prosecution Service filed the charges after receiving new evidence against the far-right influencer brothers from a regional police station. Andrew Tate faces 10 charges connected to 3 alleged victims, while Tristan faces 11 charges connected to 1 alleged victim, on allegations dating back between 2012 and 2015, according to reports. The brothers have previously rejected the UK allegations,
saying they are, quote, very innocent men. Despite also facing similar charges in their country of residence, Romania, the British-American brothers were allowed to return to the United States in February. At the time, Andrew set up the charges against them.
We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever.
Reports say they have since returned to Romania, where they face charges of sex with a minor and trafficking. They both deny the allegations. According to the BBC, those charges will be handled after the criminal cases are concluded in Romania.
I know it's God's will, I'm empty inside.
A family trying to find the strength after a couple is killed less than 2 hours apart in two separate crashes. Those crashes happened overnight Friday. Now their families are preparing to lay the couple to rest.
Good evening to you, friends. Greg and Elizabeth here with you. Dion Guillory spoke with their family tonight and has their story. Hey, Dion.
Hey, Greg. The couple was building a future together, ready to get married. Separate tragedies took them, leaving behind their 4-year-old son.
I love them. I'm going to miss both of them. And I'm going to find the strength to go ahead.
Holding back tears, the families of Alexis Lee and John J.R. Collins remember the engaged couple's lives cut short. His parents holding hands while we talked about their whirlwind romance.
He loved Alexis as well as everybody else who knew her. It was a different feeling. And it's like I know the border we gone.
The couple, set to get married early next year, died overnight last Friday in separate crashes. State police say Alexis lost control of her SUV and crashed on Plank Road near Lemon Road in Zachary. You can still see damage left behind to this ditch. We are told investigators called JR to tell him what happened. On his way to the crash scene, troopers say he lost control of his car on Plank Road just outside the town of Clinton. He hit this tree, was ejected, and died. They leave behind their 4-year-old little boy, Gabriel.
He's just having a little problem comprehending that we can't talk to them, we can't see them, but he understands that they're asleep.
Alexis was a recent Southern University grad who taught at East Feliciana STEAM Academy. JR was a truck driver who loved sports cars. The couple just bought a new home. Despite the tragedy, their love lives on through their son.
The two families will blend, and we will do whatever it takes to give him a good life.
An undocumented mother and her critically ill child have been ordered by the Trump administration to self-deport, but the mother says that move will threaten her daughter's life. 4-year-old Sophia is being treated at Children's Hospital LA for a severe medical condition called short bowel syndrome, which prevents her from absorbing nutrients in food. Public counsel, the attorneys representing the family, shared this video with us. Sophia and her mother came to the U.S. from Mexico in 2023 on humanitarian grounds to receive life-saving medical care. But last month, the Trump administration ordered them to self-deport. The mother tells us, according to doctors, Sophia could die if she's sent back to Mexico. Tomorrow morning, we're expecting to hear from the family and their attorney about what options they have left.
So I'm going to show you the new map of the United States of America, and you may not be able to see this very well. We have 50 states in the United States, but this is mega regions. Mega regions. Mega regions. Mega, large. Mega regions. These are the city-states. These are large cities that are being made larger. Now remember I told you that the gray area is the wildlands. That's going to be the area that no one will have access to. And you know, I haven't told you anything about myself. I was a legal witness, an expert witness in land use and land valuation for my government, for the State Department of Transportation. Expert witness, testified in court. And I found out about this because I saw that people were not being able to use their land. And I looked behind that and I found Agenda 21. This is true. Okay, the federal government of the United States is doing this, is in process of creating mega regions, which are essentially crossing national boundaries. This is Cascadia. It used to be a portion of Washington State, Oregon State, Idaho, and Vancouver area, British Columbia in Canada. The Southern California and Texas Triangle areas include part of Mexico. This breaks national boundaries, it breaks state boundaries, it breaks county boundaries. It's also a project of the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. Regionalization and world government. You use trade agreements to destroy boundaries, and you actually cannot make local law that breaks those treaties.
It's illegal. It's a federal violation to be in possession of a moon rock, even the smallest particle. You are not allowed to have because you could put it under a microscope and maybe discover things about it. The fact is, von Braun took an unusual holiday 6 weeks before they went to the moon for the first time. You would think he would be practically sleeping at NASA 24/7 to make sure everything worked for the first launch to the moon. But he had enough leisure time left over to make a trip to Antarctica, which is known for having a lot of lunar meteorites. And he collected a bunch of those rocks, and those were submitted as coming from the moon. And some of them are just, false pieces of petrified wood that they assumed would never be open. That's why it's a federal crime to be in possession of one, because you could prove that some of them are fake.
Scientists just made one of the biggest discoveries ever, and people are losing their minds. So you've probably heard of hydrogel before, which, if you used to play with Orbeez or anything like that, that's what it's made of. There's many other things that it is used for. Now, we all know the pain of getting a cut, or especially a bad injury or wound. What they do is they plaster it up, they bandage it up, and it's going to take quite a long time to heal, right? Depending on how bad the cut actually is, it can take anywhere from a month, 2 months, even up to a year if it's really, really bad. But scientists at the University of Bayreuth in Germany have just made one of the craziest discoveries ever, and I'm not joking when I say this is literally groundbreaking. What they've done is develop a hydrogel so advanced that it is paper thin, and somehow it mimics human skin. Yeah, in a number of ways such as flexibility and also taking on its healing capabilities. So this tiny thin sleeve that will be put on instead of like a bandage will now be able to heal wounds 90% in 4 hours and fully within a whole day, which is absolutely game-changing for the world, and once this becomes mainstream when they've done more testing, it's insane.
Nothing to see right here. Nothing at all. A plane just spontaneously combusted today. In Denver, Colorado, at the Denver airport.
Like that. Oh, what happened?
It's on fire. And this did just happen to be coincidentally not related. It just happened to be a Boeing plane. Again, not really at all, just giving you the manufacturer of the plane. And also completely unrelated 1000%. Did you know that a plane fell out of the sky in Texas earlier today? Yeah, the same Texas that had green firing explosions happening underground yesterday. I really do wondering what could be happening to all planes in the air in 2025. This picture is purely for entertainment to get your attention. So what do y'all think about this? Do you intend on flying anywhere in 2025? I know it's been literally months, but I am sure that at some point soon you'll get it figured out.
Right. Man, if you were to die tomorrow because of whatever reason, what do you want people to know right now? Like, what do you want people to know if you're just like gone? You are not free. And this reality has far more to it than you have been allowed to believe. And God is real.
I think that all this alien extraterrestrial shit, I mean, it's fun to dig down there, but I mean, I think it's a big distraction. I don't know if it's meant to be some type of a controlled op, but I think it is. I think all this stuff is spiritual. That's what I think. Of course it is. I think all this stuff is spiritual. All these things that people are seeing and stuff. I think there's a spirituality component to it. Now,
that these are angels and demons, or
yeah,
what?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And where was I going with this? And anti-gravitic propulsion systems. I mean, yeah, I would hope that we have that is next generation stuff that's not, the same that we've been using since World War II.
So the light that petrified them was a source of energy that officials say is not currently known to humanity.
Whoa! We literally said jaw-dropping at the top of the story. I'm sitting there going, what?
This is a CIA report. We're not making it. This isn't a tabloid, okay?
Okay, so this file that's now declassified by the CIA. I mean, analysts that are looking at this, I mean, it does seem far-fetched, like this is some kind of sci-fi movie.
Who is leading the push for answers on UFOs. Congressman, good to have you with us. You may have heard at the very end of the debate, we asked a question about this to Governor Christie for New Jersey. There were sort of some laughs in the room, partly because of what he was saying. But here was his answer to the actual question. Watch.
The job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. Whether it was UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers' unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay, Congressman raises the question, how much of a threat do you believe these UAPs are to our national security? Tell me.
Well, in the expert testimony we had, and thank y'all so much for having me on this and not playing the theme from X-Files when I come on. But in the actual professional testimony we had, these are sworn veterans, they all agreed that it was a threat. I contend if they had this incredible technology, which was described in the sworn testimony, that they could have reduced us to carbon a long time ago. So I'm not that afraid of them, but I am afraid of the fact that we've had 14 documented near-miss incidents with our, $60 million aircraft. But worse than that, American pilots, American fighting men and women are put in harm's way. And our government, on one side, tells us they don't exist, but yet, say this film that you're looking at right here, the Tic Tac video, not TikTok like the communist Chinese propaganda, Tic Tac like the breath mint, is showing a craft with no heat signature, able to fly underwater with little or no friction, come out of the water and fly. And you hear the pilots, they're laughing about it. And I've talked to those pilots, they're the best in the world. They couldn't keep up with it. They said there's nothing on this planet that has those kind of credentials. And I've been briefed in secure settings. I've been told in off-the-record conversations, I've viewed things that would generally, be headlines across the world, but yet we continue to deny that this exists when it's right there in front of us. And our Pentagon, though, oddly enough, on one hand, is they not call them the war pimps, because that's really what they are. They're in the business of selling war to this nation and putting Americans in harm's way for profit. They are saying they don't exist, but now they're saying, well, give us extra money and we'll study this thing. And in fact, they've been taking millions of dollars to do that. And, the Pentagon has never passed an audit. They lose billions of dollars. They have a large percentage of their assets are unaccounted for, yet they want us to give us more money to study something they say does not exist. I just say, let's have some transparency.
The Pentagon has never passed an audit. They lose billions of dollars. They have a large percentage of their assets are unaccounted for, yet they want us to give us more money to study something they say does not exist.